they had fan bases, and the way that it used to work in the black community, that in any club, no matter what, uh, their statue was always raised on the weekend when they had live bands. You know what I mean? It could be just a little dive bar, but on the weekends they'd have a live band, and all of a sudden everybody gets dressed up and they come and they dance. And those bands, even if they didn't have hit records, just because they were signed, would get those gigs. You know, you'd see in the hood, you know, this weekend, Clear, blah, 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 or this weekend, Slave, and then they'd work their way up and start doing bigger gigs. Um, you know, fortunately, my first record was a million seller, so I didn't have to do
You
that.
avoided bars.
Right, we only played one bar in our lives. So, but, you know, it was funny. People used to think that we were snobby, and we used to say, no, well, we don't play bars, not because we're anti-bars. We said, well, we got 4 girls on strings, 2 girls on horns, 2 piano players. We don't have a bar big enough.
Let's talk a bit. Do you play a part, participate in the jam band scene at all? Are you?
No, because when the jam band scene happened, when you say the jam band,
Well,
you mean mainly like the white jam
right.
band. There's a couple of few black jam bands, you know.
Right.
Um,
The majority of the audience is white.
oh, white, yeah. No, I did one record with a group called Strange Folk, um, and, and that was cool, and I hung around with them and Fish and all those cats. Um, and of course, you know, Living Color are my boys. I hang with them a lot, and I see them. You know, Corey is married to one of my friends who I've known since she was a teenager. I just did a record with Vernon.
I guess what I was going to say is that one of the interesting things is I've been going to these clubs, and unknown to probably most black people, is that a significant part of the jam band scene, they play funk.
Right, yeah, yeah.
And it's this weird kind of you know, it's psychically dislocating for me to go to the shows, only because, I mean, and some of these bands are good. I'm not
Yeah,
in the crowd, but it's 20, 40 years since its creation,
Right.
and it feels in a strange way that funk is taking the path of jazz and blues.
Right.
Do you?
Well, it's interesting. Man, it is so interesting you say that. I literally just got back from London less than 24 hours ago, and as I was leaving the gig, a white kid walked up to me and gave me a CD. He said, "Now, please, you have to listen to this. This is funk. I mean, you're going to be so proud, man. This is real funk. It's funk, 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 funk." And I kept thinking to myself, well, "What do you mean it's funk? I know what funk is." He goes, "No, you're going to be surprised. It's funk." And I haven't listened to it yet, but you know, the same thing happened when the Disco Sucks movement hit America, and Chic, who we didn't even consider ourselves a disco band, but we were caught up in it. The white bands loved what we played. They idolized where we were coming from. I mean, you listen from everybody from the Clash to Queen to INXS to Duran Duran. All of those guys liked that sound. And a similar thing, I mean, you listen to Red Hot Chili Peppers, I mean, they love funk. I mean, you know, when you listen to their cover of, you know, Love Roller Coaster, you can tell that they love it. They didn't just do it just for fun. Or even remember the band Alien Ant Farm.
Sure.
They got their record deal because when they turned in their album, it wasn't quite good enough. They needed a single. So when they used to practice Smooth Criminal by Michael Jackson as sound check. Right, they practiced that at their sound check, and one of the people from the record company said, "Man, can you record that song that you do at sound check and do it that same way?" And that's how they got their record deal, and that became their first single.
So there is I mean, is this just the inevitability of did black people create shit and they move on and it's adopted? Is that just like the history of music being replayed again?
You know, is it so much that I would love to artistically and spiritually say that it's natural evolution, that it moves on just because that we're all creative, but I think that in a strange way it's a little bit more insidious than that. I think in a strange way it becomes usurped, and just like when I look at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and I look at when they talk about R&B music, when they give awards to R&B music, if you read it and they say a subgenre of rock and roll, and I go, a subgenre? Now, when I look at the history of rock and roll, And I see Little Richard and all of those guys, they're more closely related to bands like mine than they are to Metallica. Metallica doesn't sound like Little Richard. You know, Earth, Wind, and Fire sounds more like Little Richard than that. So how could Metallica be rock and roll, but Earth, Wind, and Fire or Public Enemy or Chic be subgenres of rock and roll?
Fuck the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
No, but I'm just saying. No, I'm just saying that. But I'm just saying that conceptually, that's to answer your
Right.
question in a more holistic
Yeah.
way. That it's not that I wish that it's just that we were so artistic and incredible. We just can't stay in a bubble any longer. Man, I got to break out. I got to do something else. No, when I met the Shockley brothers, they told me that, Niall, we didn't have what you had, but because music is so ingrained in our DNA, we have to make music. So we make music with what we have around us. Hence the birth of hip hop and the birth of sampling. And then it winds up becoming a higher art form. But that's not the ideology of it. It's not like they were tired of funk. It's not like, damn man, I'm tired. I'm tired of Earth, Wind, and Fire. I need to do something else. No, what happened is that the skills went away, the education went away, the funding went away, everything that supported that intellectual infrastructure went away. It was taken away from us. And I talk to kids all across this country. I gig all the time. I do video games now, so I see everybody. And they all tell me how frustrated they are. And now they're only starting to relearn because the technology has given them the ability to not only learn and absorb, but now they can watch somebody playing on YouTube. They can look at Prince's fingers and go, that's what he's doing. So they don't need a teacher. They can look at Prince's actual hands and figure it out. And they want to do that. So it's not like they've just moved on and don't like it anymore. It's really, as I said, I think it's slightly more insidious. I certainly know what happened to us